Welcome to the Sci-Fi Diner podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Scott Herzog.
Good evening. I'm Miles P. McLaughlin.
I'm MC Old Lady Garcia.
I'm Chrissy Raffensperger.
And I'm Dave Sellers.
And tonight, it's number one. It's fantastic to have M back in the show here. But tonight we're going to be talking about Ewoks Battle for Endor, the Star Wars classic that is one of Chrissy's favorite movies of all time. Let's go ahead and I understand, Chrissy, you had a little bit of a beef with us choosing this. You want to talk a little bit about your reaction, and then we'll get someone who really knows what's going on.
I didn't have a beef with it. I said that I don't, that in comparison with some of the stuff we've gotten now is actually not that bad.
Okay.
I'm like, actually, it's not the worst Star Wars I've seen at this point.
I don't know. Yeah. So, you grew up on Star Wars. This whole thing. I had watched this. On television. I don't know, probably in the '80s sometime. And then they were probably re-airing it. I'm sure I didn't watch it when it first came out, but I was always kind of fascinated with it and the cutesy Ewoks and their journey, right? What are your thoughts on this album?
So I actually remember watching it on television.
Yeah.
So that back in my day,
Was this when you only had 3 channels? Just checking.
Yeah, and you had to be UHF or VHF.
Right.
And a hanger in for the antenna.
Stand on one leg, wave your hand, just to get a good signal.
I remember, and I was a little older. When did that movie come out? Was it?
Came out in 85.
So I would have been 12. And I was still young enough that I was playing with friends and we had action figures and we would play. And I remember thinking like, oh, this is just an extension of more things we can do in the Star Wars. This is more playtime. And this is more stuff that we can kind of get involved in. It stretched out the imagination a little bit more. And the little Ewoks were precious and stuff. And then, fast forward 45 years later, I mean, it's just a terrible movie, but it's so sweet and it's fun and the little girl is precious and it's the Ewoks, which are darling, and it's not midichlorians. So,
So what more do you want?
Exactly.
Yeah. Rewatching it again, the Wicket's outfit, I don't know. I don't recall it being quite as bad as it was in this movie. Like when you watch so this movie came out after Return of the Jedi, I'm assuming, because we went into a premise for the Ewoks. But the Ewoks, like, I recall them them having the budget to make the outfits look somewhat good, but it clearly seemed like he was in some sort of Ewok onesie. Sort of. But
When you say Ewoks onesie, you mean made by Ewoks or made of Ewoks?
Yes.
Yes, both, yeah, Ewok onesie. No, but just, the outfit or whatever garb, Wicket is, so, yeah.
It gave me kind of almost like Willow vibes.
A little bit, yes.
Like, it definitely felt almost more like I was watching Willow than a Star Wars film, which I actually don't have a problem with because Willow is campy and fun and ridiculous, and I grew up watching it and enjoying it. So I did actually see these movies when I was a kid. My dad showed us Star Wars. He did Parenting Right one summer, and we wanted more Star Wars. So he went and he rented, I think it was at like Blockbuster, actually, the Ewok movies. So I did see them probably a little bit before I was 10, I want to say. And I remember being a little confused because I was like, wait, we're supposed to be watching Star Wars. Where's, like, where are my droids and where are my people? So like I remember being disappointed because I was expecting more like Jedi and more that like a continuation of that story, and then we got a side story. So then I just went and read the books. A lot of books.
Yeah. Dave, Miles, tell us your impression going back and rewatching this piece of Star Wars history.
Dave or Miles, which?
Either one.
Go for it.
All right. So I actually didn't see this one until just recently. I saw the first one, the Ewoks Caravan of Courage. This is actually the sequel to that. And so this must have came, I don't know what I was doing in '85, but I mean, they dropped it on ABC. It was a TV movie. So this was not on my radar. So I was watching this. I'm looking for something familiar, and it's like, okay, I remember the little girl, and I remember Wicket and Ewoks, but then this is a totally different story. A lot of nostalgia. I mean, I didn't know Wilford Brimley is in it, and he's the action hero in this, which I think is hilarious. Which kind of scared me. He looks like an old dude, but he's only in his early 50s in this movie. He's not that old, so I'm a little nonplussed about that. Maybe we age better now. I don't know, but
I think we do.
Yeah, maybe we take better care of ourselves. I'm just thinking. I'm about the same age he is in this movie.
So definitely not old. Definitely not old then.
Well, we don't smoke like they used to, and smoking really ages you.
That's it. That's probably it. Is the smoking?
Well, Wilford Brimley didn't smoke. He had diabetes.
I'm just saying, just the secondhand smoke that everyone would have been exposed to. Not even from you could have chosen not to smoke and you still would have gotten it because it was literally everywhere.
He had diabetes. He had diabetes though.
Yeah, he was always on a commercial about how Medicaid was there to support you with your diabetes medication, and until I got to high school and learned that it's diabetes, not diabetes, like beats us. I'm so glad you mentioned Caravan of Courage because that was really a sweet movie too. It was terrible, but it was.
Maybe we got to do that one next, Chrissy.
We need to take a break. As far as the nostalgia train, Paul Gleason has about maybe 5 minutes of screen time. If you've watched any of the '80s Rat Pack movies or Die Hard, he kind of plays a douchebag in a lot of these things he's in, and he's brilliant at it. He's great, and so it was weird seeing him play this nice older dad who doesn't last too long, but he's the teacher in Breakfast Club, and
the principal, the vice principal.
Was principal. Okay, he's a principal, and he's the smarmy cop in Die Hard.
Yeah.
So that was kind of cool to There's the nostalgia train is always a fun one to ride, but I keep telling myself this was a kids movie. And this was George Lucas getting as much possible bang for his buck as possible. And if you're a Star Wars fan, this is the only live-action Star Wars you're going to get till 15 years from now.
Isn't that the truth,
So...
And now you have all the Star Wars you could want.
And more.
Smorgasbord.
But so, at the time, this was kind of, just cutting edge. We have more Star Wars content. I mean, this was, okay, it's a kids movie, but it's still more Star Wars content.
And I wonder too, we talked about watching this when we were in our young teens or maybe even before that. And, at the time I was fascinated with the story, right? It was I was like Star Wars, and I wasn't seeing Jedi or droids running around, but it was in that universe. And I don't recall there's been multiple times where I've been doing other stuff and I pass over the title. I'm like, oh, I should check this out again sometime. And it doesn't age well, but that doesn't necessarily mean at the time for kids, kids did not find it entertaining, even though as an adult I'm looking at it, I'm like, this is a lot of cheese factor in it. But
Well, I mean, it's also an '80s movie. I
right.
mean,
And so there's some cheese to be expected in that, but
Oh yeah.
yeah.
I mean, like, Never Ending Story is cheesy. Willow is cheesy. Like, I mean, I'm hard pressed to think of kids movies that aren't cheesy in the '80s.
I mean, I've recently watched all of the Blueies because I was told it was very soothing and fun, and they're only 7 minutes long, and they're amazing. They're amazing, but they are super cheesy. So I think that's probably the common denominator for, oh, this is for X and younger. Let's make it as dopey as possible.
Yeah, yeah. Dave, how about you? What were your thoughts coming back to this movie and saying, being
Look
the
at his
Star
face.
Wars aficionado that you are, um, where did you fall in like rewatching this here?
He
And did
wants
you
I
did
heard
it?
J.J. Abrams is remaking it.
Yes, it's gonna be even it's gonna be even better
It's gonna
with
be
lots of
worse.
lens flare
Yeah.
off the Ewok's
He
eyes. It's gonna be
should. He
great.
should make another one.
That's right.
I think he should make it the next Ewok trilogy.
Yes, yeah,
Oh.
the Ewok trilogy. I love it. Great idea, Chrissy.
We should write in and
I think we
start a
should.
fan
We
petition.
should start a poll that we get lots of people to sign up and say this is a good idea.
I will
Yes.
never have begged for a quicker death in my life than it came to pass. Honestly, for myself, not the creator of
What
it.
if
but
they
for myself.
actually made it good, Dave? These are the serious questions I have to ask.
So what? The first part of your premise is this title and making it good. The second problem in that premise is J.J. Abrams running it and making it good. So we're already at 0 for 2 on this spectrum. So I don't know where we want to go.
Director. Like,
I don't even think Favreau and Feige can make this worth anything.
You know what? This should just be a challenge to them. Like, we have the ultimate Star Wars.
Throw down the gauntlet.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah,
go
the
for
gauntlet
it.
for 'em. But to the surprise probably of many, this is the first time I've watched this the whole way through. I've tried to do it in my youth. I have tried to do it since then, and I never made it past the first 20, 30 minutes. And pulled it up this time. I was like, okay. But I'm looking at the movie poster art on the, when you go to click on it on the Disney Plus there. And I see some spaceships on it. I see the this strapping, dashing rogue in the middle of the mix. Like, okay, maybe this guy comes around to save it at the end, and I don't recall seeing that. I don't see him there. I'm like, the hell is this?
They baited and switched.
They really did.
All of us in the 80s.
Expecting some rogue hero, and I get Wilford Brimley. I'm not sure how that worked, but okay.
Maybe he was considered roguish in the 80s. I mean, I don't know.
Not like that. And also noticing really.
Emma's choking on her drink.
maybe he was gold leader 5 or something like that.
Porkins' uncle, I mean,
That's right. If you get a Porkin as one of the rogue leaders, then why can't he be rogue leader 5? Come on.
Yeah, Rogue Beatus.
Maybe he was in some cut footage on the floor.
That's right.
That's entirely possible.
And that's actually they ended up having to do that reshoot at the very end where the guy turns. I'm sorry if I'm spoiling the movie. How many years later? Almost 40 at this point. No, probably 40 years at this point. Where he randomly turns into stone. I was like, what? We just hit the ring and then it hit him. I don't quite understand. That seems like a design flaw. In that ring. So maybe that's why they ended up doing that, because they couldn't resolve it, and they just had to cut his whole scene. I'm just wondering.
Did any of you see Cocoon, the mid-'80s movie?
Yeah.
So this is the same year. Cocoon comes out in '85. This movie comes out in '85. Wilford Brimley's playing a resident at a retirement home. Yes, I'm trying to be as nice as possible.
Where Adam's going to be in a few years, right?
Wow. Wow. Wow.
Well, that is my number one choice. Well, my number 2 choice.
Too bad you can't see in video that Chrissy is earning herself tons of points tonight.
Yeah.
I love it.
Usually it's us on the receiving end of that from her.
Yeah. It's about time someone put her in her place. But so Miles, are you saying that because he was like, was he kind of a central part of Cocoon? Because I never watched Cocoon.
Oh yeah, Cocoon. He was one of the leads in that.
So it could be too that throwing this movie out with him in it was actually they were trying to ride coattails, maybe, or the popularity of who he was, maybe. I don't know.
He was on TV a lot back then. Like he was playing everybody's, grandpa.
Yeah.
Or father of like an older child, of like a college age child. That seemed to be his métier for the time, and he was on everything.
All right. Anyways, Dave, you were saying.
Well, I also did not see, like, for being in a Star Wars film, the Ewoks and the word Endor are like the only two pieces of IP in this entire thing.
Well,
like, I don't even see the Ewoks and the word Endor. So, okay, I get what they're doing with it. I mean, for what it is. I'm sure as a child I might have found it a little more fascinating. Of course, I was 2 when it came out, so, maybe.
Bless.
But,
these youngins here.
Yeah,
I wasn't alive when it came out.
We know, child.
I'm only
like 7 years young. No, how many years? 5 years younger than you, Dave. Come on.
I call everybody younger than me child. It doesn't matter. Should I talk to people at work? Exactly.
Yeah.
I suspect that this was just because of the value of the IP of what Star Wars of what it was back then with Hasbro and everything. I think the cheapest way to make this movie was to get the Star Wars name, because I don't even think I'm looking up on IMDb right now to see like who the cast and crew were. I think like what's his name? It's these. I don't know who these people. I think George Lucas might have just sneezed on the script and that's it. But so the directors were Jim and Ken Wheat, and they were the writers. They did the screenplay, and George Lucas came up with the story. I don't know what he was smoking. I suspect like that IP, like that's a great call out. I didn't think about that. Like it was the cheapest way to make a Star Wars thing that you could put on TV.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So I mean, at a time when there's nothing new out, and you're not going to have anything for decades long now. After that, this is. I can certainly get. I can certainly get it. I certainly get it. Has not aged very well, but most television movies from the 80s don't.
I'd like to read something I just found on the internet webs, on the computer. When the film aired on ABC in 1985, a viewer warning came on to warn small children and younger viewers of the film's content. Quote, tonight's continuing fantasy adventure of Sindel and the Ewoks contains some scenes of suspense and jeopardy which may be too intense for younger viewers. Parents are encouraged to watch with their children. I'm curious. I have thoughts, but I would like your thoughts.
Well, as a parent, I get that. Like, I'm sitting down with my 5-year-old who thinks these Ewoks are cute creatures, right? And they're gonna love this, and they're gonna see the main character kidnapped. They're gonna see her put into peril. Um, potentially her family has been taken from her. Like there are some themes that is like, depending on the age of the kid, like these are things that you could have argued were alarming. So I think this says something too, that this was definitely not geared toward adults. First of all, this is definitely geared as a kids movie, as you know, as centered through the protagonist, if you will, the child protagonist who we kind of follow through the story. Like this is clearly meant for younger children. We are not the audience. So I get that warning as a parent. If a parent, my kid is now graduated as of this weekend. Holy hell! There was a time he's sitting. You know, this would be big for him if he was just watching it without any guidance. So
Yeah, and especially back then too. Like, I, hell, I can't really say even at that in that era, as a younger kid, like I would watch old westerns and old war movies with my dad, and that wasn't much of a problem. But what was an issue at times was Star Wars itself, because it depicted some sort of wizardry and magical stuff like that, and that was a big problem. I mean, I remember getting to talk about Dungeons and Dragons when I first started playing that back in the '90s. You know, it was just part of the culture he grew up in, and the way they kind of the society even just viewed even depicted violence like that. So I get it. I mean, we've become a lot more desensitized to that stuff today, which
compared to what you see now
correct.
on this is like I would show an infant and not worry, and the infant would probably text me from their crib going, "This is crap."
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
By the way, there's crap in my diaper too.
Yeah.
The stuff in my diaper is more entertaining if it's on this iPad. Mommy, come now.
Just saying.
Yeah.
I've missed you, Em.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I think the violence. I mean, by today's standards, you're from back then. You're seeing the baddies get shot by arrows. Now there's no blood or guts or anything like that, but maybe for the uninitiated, this might be a little disturbing. I'm not sure we saw that in Return of the Jedi, of stormtroopers getting hit by arrows. We saw some of these guys get shot with the blasters. We saw Sindul's dad get hit in the back by a blaster. It's a little PG maybe, and so that's maybe why they gave that warning.
That's fair.
I mean, it shouldn't almost get eaten by like that pterodactyl-y thing.
Yeah. Well, I wonder too. Back then, and I don't recall, but now you any show you watch on television has all these warning labels and ratings with it. But in the '80s, that wasn't there. Not that I can recall. Like you didn't recall saying like this is PGVN for nudity or whatever. You didn't have those labels that were kind of scrolling across the top, and so maybe these viewer discretion was their way of kind of before that time kind of answering it.
The first time I ever remember seeing that on a television show was in the mid to late '90s when South Park first aired. That was the first time I ever really recall seeing it. And not too long after that, WWE started putting a warning, don't try this at home stuff in front of their start of
Which,
their
Dave, you totally listened to.
Oh, 100%. We never did anything.
You were a good child.
My brother and I did it at home. We tried on each other.
I might still have a scar on the back of my head where my brother hit me in the back with a metal chair one time when we were doing something. Busted me open.
I don't think my brother and I ever did that after watching WWE, but we definitely did at one point because I still have the scar from when he hit my finger with an axe and a sword. Did I have the axe and he had the sword, or he had the axe and I had the sword? We were fighting with weapons.
Amazing. the Motion Picture Association film rating. I just looked up. So PG-13 didn't exist until 1984, and I remember because it was Red Dawn. I was still too young, but I remember that movie coming out, and it was such a big deal because it's PG-13. It was for movies, but even for TVs, it wasn't really there.
Right. Yeah. And I mean that rating system has totally changed too. Like in the 70s, because I teach English, right? We're showing Romeo and Juliet, the Zeffirelli version. Well, there's boobs all over the place, but it's PG, right? It's like technically it's we can show it in the classroom because it's PG, but technically today, at least PG-13, if not higher. And there were other issues with the filming of that movie beyond that, but
Well,
yeah.
and then before cable, in the 90s, you really didn't have it because everything was regulated by the FCC anyway because it was going out across the airwave.
Mm-hmm.
So they were very corralled in by that.
Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah. I think my, in watching it this time, coming back to this TV movie, I had a little bit of a problem with the witch/sorceress in it because it seems like in the world of Star Wars, the closest that you get to that is kind of the Night Sisters of Dothmore, right? But this does not seem to be like the same type of people that Asajj Ventress is coming from, or that Darth Maul's related to, right? You have these. This seems to be very much more fantastical. I can shape shift into a crow type of fantasy. I think my problem, in part, with this fitting into the Star Wars universe is there seems to be definitely a more fantasy element than you really see in a lot of other Star Wars IPs, right?
Mm.
Maybe that witch was just able to was a Force user and was able to manipulate the midichlorians in her body to shape shift.
You're really trying to get M fired up.
I'm trying to tie it all in, man.
Well, hold on. You forgot that she seemed like she needed the magic ring to do it.
Right.
One ring to lead them all.
Because
one ring to bind them.
So she couldn't transform into a crow and fly away. And then when she transformed into a crow, he took the ring again to make sure that she wouldn't be able to turn back into, I guess, human, whatever she is, witch form.
It was like a Sith holocron.
Oh, so you're still trying to tie it in. I see what you're doing, Dave.
Still trying to tie it.
So somehow the Sith holocron has magic transformation powers. Also, like Endor, they had horses and crows. Like those are probably the things that were like the most world.
Well, so to be fair, we don't see those in Return of the Jedi, right?
Yeah.
So I guess
they were in a different part of the planet, but near enough to Wicket's village that.
Well, maybe the Marauders brought the horses at some point and crash landed many eons ago.
Is it so horses are in the lore. I just don't. It was in the last trilogy that they were riding horses, and then there was something else. I feel like there was something in the books about horses.
Oh, I'm sure there were something in the books about horses from what I recall. It's just I don't remember them being on Endor, and it seemed weird that the Marauders would have them. But I was also like, this is why I felt more like Willow-esque, because it was like a fantasy Star Wars movie. But then I was like, you know what? They have the stupid witches, and then they have those like the power of many people. So who all knows at this point? They're just plot devices. Whatever.
So they figured out horses are cheaper than land speeders and effects.
Fair enough.
Effects.
Yeah.
Speaking of effects, I was trying.
There's only 2 words from the Star Wars universe, like that whole IP thing. I'm so glad you brought that up, Dave. That now I think about the movie very. It's giving me a different avenue, but I suspect Horses are cheaper than
Well, the other
spending
thing
on
is like
effects.
kids love horses, right? So if you put Ewoks and horses, come on, this is golden for them. Miles, you were going to say something.
I was trying to find information about how much this movie cost to make the budget. I found a stat for $5 million, and I find that hard to believe. But if you looked at some of the earlier in the movie, these what are they called? Those pack animals that the Marauders were using. That was they were not. It wasn't stop motion. It was called go motion. And one of the reasons why they didn't make more of these was just that technology was just too expensive at the time. But I'm also thinking $5 million. Well, Wilford Brimley, he was on the upside of his career at the time, and so is the other guy who played Syndrel's dad. The guy who played the main baddie, Tarak. I'm sure we've all watched Star Trek: Next Generation. His name's Carol Strucken. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing his name right. He played Loxana Troy's manservant.
That guy, yes.
Mr. Holm.
Mr. Holm, yeah.
Wow, look at that.
He was in Buck Rogers too. He did a couple episodes of Buck Rogers.
Really?
Yeah.
Cool.
Wow. Yeah. Well, I think the other thing that for me, the only thing that for me validates this movie as far as tying it into the greater Star Wars universe is that Sidrel as a character, the girl, shows up later in some of the legacy books, the books that they, decided were going to become legacy books for Star Wars as a news reporter numerous times throughout. And so, and it is the same girl from Endor. Like she makes it off Endor and then becomes a part of it. So I was dialoguing with another fellow teacher, Joe Blowers, and we were talking about it. And I think in that discussion, I'm like, well, this does kind of at least casually legitimizes it, I guess, from the fitting into not just being a one-off, but they wove Syndrel's story into something, at least in the books, that the books paid homage to.
Huh. I did not know that. That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So apparently, when they were doing the writing of the script, Lucas was involved, and he had viewed the film Heidi with his daughter. And so that's one of the reasons why her whole family gets killed off. So that she can go be an orphan in the woods like Heidi.
It's Space Heidi?
Space Heidi?
It's Space Heidi.
Good golly.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
And so, yeah, Lucas would visit the set 3 times per week. Lucas's involvement was mainly in pre-production and editing. He'd given us no notes on the scripts at all after our first cut. He came up with an assortment of new scenes and shots for us to film and cut in. So he just was like, I just have these random things and you're going to put them in. So that could also explain why it kind of felt like a disjointed movie, because it was like, it kind of jumped around a little bit, but that also felt very... I think George Lucas was also involved in Willow, and that's why it like gave a very like Willow-esque feel, because it kind of just jumped around, and you're just like, what? Random sorceress kidnapping children? Okay. And then you have like a small little like character that was just, for funsies, basically being the comedic relief, like the brownies. So it's like a space Heidi meets Willow is probably what I would say this movie is.
Well, so like I was just doing a little bit of research on this on Sindel, as I mentioned. So she's working apparently, and she lives in Coruscant by the time, like 17 years after the Battle of Yavin. And then working for the Life Monitor, and she appears in the Fleet Crisis, if you remember that series. and she receives a leaked tapes from the New Republic's Admiral Hiram Dryson, which she used to break the story of Platt Malar. And so she's in that. She's also she appears in a couple other books as well as being kind of in there. So they use the character's name at least to continue the story somewhat.
Chrissy, I just asked Gemini if there were any similarities between the Ewok TV movies and the film Willow. And it's a lot of the themes, the character archetypes, the location, the shared element of the talisman devil used in Willow was also used to create the sound of the creature in Star Wars Revenge of the Sith. And it looks like there's a lot of production crossover. So you called it spot on.
I grew up watching that movie a lot, along with Princess Bride and Star Wars and other like 80s, 70s films. So I guess it's just been burned into my subconscious, and I'm like, oh, I know that, I see that.
It's distinct. It's a very distinct look. It's kind of like Labyrinth, and
yes. Like when you watch a Jim Henson film, you just know. You're like, oh
yeah,
I know that. Like you just instantaneously know because it's got a distinct feel, the themes, the music. It's all like right up in there.
I think even like the house that they run into, the old hermit like living in the woods, right? They run into that house and that feels very much Princess Bride, Willow. That's the prison that they're in feels like very much that sort of set. So, so definitely, I mean, definitely like Star Wars, but this has a very different feel than you would argue, you know, A New Hope has, right?
And so I think that might be one of the reasons why when I watched as a child, I remember being a little disappointed because it didn't feel like a Star Wars film to me. It felt more like the other stuff, and I was like, no, I wanted this other feeling. If I wanted this feeling, I'd go watch Willow. But I wasn't in the mood for that, for the Willow feeling. I wanted the vibe of the Star Wars trilogy. So the vibe was off for me as a kid.
That's fair.
Although now the vibe for most of Star Wars is off for me, so I'm just like, at this point, we're just gonna go with the fact that I cannot get the vibe. So it actually fits now more in my brain than before because I'm just like, yep, this seems like the vibe. It's off.
So I have to think, you know, when Star Wars put this movie out, you know, I was actually Dave. I think you and I were talking about it. There's actually a series of like 5 or so classic movies, Star Wars classic they call them on Disney Plus or something.
Vintage.
Yeah, maybe vintage, and they have like it's like droids. The cartoon droids was a part of that. The yeah, I was so excited about that, right? And then the other Ewok movie, and I forget what other ones in there, but you know, this is not the. I don't know. I think that in this one, clearly they were tailing her. They're saying, "What can we do that's cheap, that's gonna appeal to kids and keep people buying Star Wars toys, right?" And you do the Ewoks for Endor and the Caravan of Courage, right? You have all these sort of parts of that, but you know, Lucas, you know, in this, you know, when did the Christmas Star Wars holiday special come out? That was like after New Hope, right? I think, and that one certainly. Wow, they scaled that down. Certainly was scaled down from the movie level of filming, but they did include everyone else in that.
1978.
Yeah, so literally a year after New Hope, they threw something together to try to maximize what can we do to put these guys back out, and it ended up being a cult following. But
maybe that's that's why the Ewok movies are so cheaply done, because after they did the holiday special and they saw, like, oh my God, we paid all of these people for the dumbest show ever.
That's right.
And
We even got Jefferson Starship on.
Yeah.
Or was it Jefferson? Or was it Jefferson Airplane? I forget.
But I mean, it was a massive failure, but it's also one of the best because they crap on it so much, or Lucas doesn't acknowledge that it exists. It gives it even more gravitas.
Oh yeah.
So it's
they're like, well,
loved.
if Lucas is hiding this from us, let's go find it on the interwebs somewhere. You know.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you know it's. And so it does. It does. So hiding, it's actually been the fact that they've never released it yet on Disney Plus tells us that there's a mystique and people want to see this forbidden Star Wars movie.
Not gonna lie, when I meet people who have never seen it before, I tell them, send me your email because I have a digital copy and I'll send it to you. I give it out like candy. I might burn it down to flash drives and give it away for Halloween.
That's right. In the shape of Snickers bars. Got it.
How come I haven't gotten it?
These boys haven't shared it with you? We have a whole episode where we watched
I know.
I
Quality.
actually haven't ever seen it.
I think you came in after. But Emma's going to remedy that.
I have your email address. I will send you a link to watch it on my Google Drive.
So I need to tell the story of how I acquired a copy of the holiday special. If anybody has seen the Weird Al Yankovic video, White and Nerdy, I feel like they watched the exchange between me and this guy at this convention. You know,
Back alley.
It was almost like a bat. Well, the guy who I bought it from, it was in a paper bag, and he's looking. First, he sees me looking at it, and he goes,
"Oh my God,
here."
like porn!"
Yeah.
This is Star Wars porn. You got it.
It was the holiday special. I was buying
It was special, all right. Which version did you get, Miles? Just checking.
Oh, it was the one that we reviewed. It's there's nothing on a list about it, and then
this very special edition.
Yes.
It wasn't that special.
On a very special Star Wars.
It's just, but just
after dark.
Ding ding ding.
Sorry, now I'm grossing myself out.
But it was, I felt like I was in a very illicit exchange giving you this copy of.
That's hilarious.
The holiday
and Miles,
special.
you're just the sweetest, kindest guy too. So I'm just envisioning, like, were you feeling very cringy and exposed?
No, I was the guy who I think he felt exposed. I was just like, cool. I was like Weird Al Yankovic in the video, just happy I got my copy of the holiday special. But
That's
the guy
fantastic.
I bought it from, he was like a dirty, skeezy drug dealer, and the way he,
The only thing that would have made that better, Miles, if he would have like whipped open his trench coat and there was a holiday special on the inside.
He probably had some, he probably had other copies on his person.
So you never know.
But yeah.
So how did you find out that he was actually selling the holiday special? I need to know that.
Well, because I was looking at another table that was selling unofficial copies of certain, and he goes, "Here, I if you get it from me, I'll take off so much money." He sold to me for cheap. I got a discount.
Oh.
Now was it on VHS or was it on like disc?
Well, this is '97, so it was on VHS.
Ooh, okay.
Oh.
I saw it on Laserdisc.
I love that people are keeping this alive, almost out of spite, just. It's like more of a cult following.
Maybe this year for Christmas we should re-break it out. It's been 10 years since we've talked about it. We can talk about it again.
Good God.
Dave doesn't have enough beer in the world for that.
Dave has not watched it with us because I think it was you, Miles, and I.
Yeah, I wasn't around for that one.
It was the three of us.
Yep.
If we could all make it to a convention together, we could just upload it, hook it up to a TV, and then just mic all five of us and watch it again.
Right.
Maybe that's
goodness.
And Maybe we could even make that like an event. Like, come watch this disaster with us with joy and love.
Yeah, well, we could throw it on like as a sixth screen here, and we could like watch it and just be on and talking together if we don't get that done.
Oh yeah.
Good.
Yes, 1,000 times yes.
So
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Well-
Oh,
that might make
Dave,
watch.
when are you going on vacation? When are you not going to be here? So we make sure that we schedule it for the time you're going to be around us.
oh no! I gotta be a part of that. Like-
Dave, I will pay for your dinner if you sit and watch the whole thing.
No, I'll sit and watch the whole thing. In fact, yeah. Oh no.
Have you ever
I
watched?
will-
Have you ever watched a holiday special, Dave?
I want to say that I did. I want to
That's
say
not
that
very
I did.
convincing, Dave.
Well, if it was a long time ago.
Is it worse than when Santa got kidnapped by Martians? That's all I got to ask.
I think that it's better than Santa Claus versus the Martians. Bigger budget.
Keep in mind, there is that curve where, like, a movie becomes so bad it starts being good again. Like, where are we on that curve?
Nah. You get your first look at Kashyyyk. You get Boba Fett.
Yeah, I get IP and characters that I like and have known and enjoy.
There's more Wookiees.
Yeah.
Who doesn't like more Wookiees?
That's right. You get to see the droids and Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher and
Carrie Fisher, who said, I think she may have admitted she might have been a little high when she.
I
did
think
that.
so. I heard that before too.
I don't find that.
That just makes it all the
You have to
better.
watch it.
Well, I mean, after so much, she's just like, listen, if I'm going to do more Star Wars, I'm going to smoke a blunt first because too many
think
people
that was the problem.
are fantasizing about me in that damn bikini.
Oh, bless.
Yes, this is all before that.
Oh. So
Yeah.
she really needed some. Okay. Maybe that's what she agreed to the bikini.
Yeah, maybe that she had too much ahead of time. But.
She had too much.
Well,
she
so
agreed.
let's back to the battle for Endor here, just to kind of circle it back around a little bit. So where do we put this in the Star Wars? I hesitate to ask this because we're a cantankerous lot here, but when we look at like the 9 movies that have been put out in Star Wars, and then we drop the Ewoks for Endor, where does it line up in those movies? And we'll even throw the holiday special in. And
Do you want a guess, or do you want what Google gives us?
I want to know what M thinks, and then I want to know what Google thinks.
So I guessed incorrectly, sort of correctly. I figured it was between episodes 4 and 6, like it would be scattered across all 3 movies.
Okay. As far as like where you would rank it as far as being quality.
Oh, I thought you meant in the timeline.
Oh, no. I'm kind of saying in the timeline.
quality-wise?
I think it's I saw like 3 years after the Battle of Yavin is what I kind of saw of it. But
So
but no, I'm looking for
I
more
would
like where
watch these
would you rank it as far as being in your hierarchy of Star Wars movies? Where would this rank?
it's middle towards the bottom. I would watch these on repeat before I would watch episodes 1 through 3 again.
Oh, okay.
What?
So the only
Really?
thing you need to add to it then for your sake is the
episode 1. There's not enough time or expletives or alcohol in this house, and I have a collection of whiskey that's insured. There's not enough of any of those for me to go into how those 3 movies upset the fuck out of me.
All right, so
And you all thought that I was cantankerous. I'm just gonna throw that out.
I'm just saying, but so these those 3 movies rank below Ewoks for Endor.
And where would you rank the
watch 2 otters trying to crochet the visage of Deadpool onto a dead cow over watching those 3 movies?
So there we go. All
The
right.
script.
All right.
That sounds fucking adorable. I would watch the shit out of two otters trying to crochet. I'm
Yep.
just gonna throw that out there.
Yep.
You missed the rest of it, which is super gross. But that's how, like, I would rather be awake for my tonsillectomy than watch those through.
All right.
Where would you rank the new trilogy, the newest one?
I actually liked some of them. I appreciated how they had characters who were, there was a spectrum of characters instead of specific archetypes. There was the way that they treated the droids, and it was, the advent of AI was around the time that these movies are coming out. So like how many feelings and how there was one robot that I was like, oh my god, he's ADHD like I am. It was a lot of it was terrible, but they still told a good story, and they plucked at my 8-year-old heartstrings, and they satisfied my 40-year-old soul, and they were cared for. I think they were really cared for. They were curated properly. They were given grace, and we as the consumers of these were given grace. Whereas I feel like the first 3 movies were let's just turn this shit out and see how much cash we can get. And I do realize that I was not the audience. They were trying to get a younger audience so that they could get into this world. But it was a smack in the face. And I take it very personally, because it was the first time that I saw female characters being strong and leadership, and they weren't like half naked until you get to Jabba the Hutt. They weren't, oh, save me. It was more like, oh my god, you smell, back off. It was very honest, which at the time there wasn't anything like that for a young girl, and they carried that through with Rey and some other characters. Although, what's his name, Finn, he annoyed the crap out of me. That boy needed Ritalin like nobody's business. But those movies were actually very well cared for, and I think they were taken to heart. Kind of like when the Marvel movies, when James Gunn was doing the Marvel movies and Taika Waititi's doing the Marvel movies and the Russo brothers, they are all dorks with stacks of comic books like I have. So I know that it's being what's the word? It's being fostered properly,
Right.
as opposed to like, how much money can we make from this?
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, that's all right.
I'm off the soapbox now.
Chrissy, where do you rank Ewoks for Endor in the 9 movie arc, if you were to place it somewhere?
I mean, I would rank them higher than the last one that came out. Yeah, I dislike that movie so much. I literally can't even remember its name. Like, my brain refuses to acknowledge its existence because I dislike it that much. So, yeah.
I feel it. I feel
and
that.
I also passionately dislike what they did to Luke in the other one too. So again, I just like, that is not Luke Skywalker. You destroyed him, and I'm still very salty about it. So at least these movies didn't destroy one of my favorite characters of all time. So I will rank them. Yeah.
Miles, where are you at with this ranking? If you were to place Ewoks Battle for Endor in somewhere in the lineup of the 9 movies, where would you place this?
This is 2 hours of my life I will never get back.
Oh, bless.
It was 2 hours. It was only like an hour and a half. So such lies.
It is lies.
It felt like 2.
Lies and mendacities.
Afterwards, he had such heartburn that he went on for an extra 30.
That's right. That's right. The DVD kept skipping. I kept having to rewatch the one scene over and over again. But so this is at the very bottom for you, Miles.
Yeah, I mean, there's once you get past some of the nostalgia train ride, it's just not enjoyable to watch. I mean, maybe as the 14-year-old me wanting more Star Wars content, but the 50-something wrong side of 50. Just wanted to end.
Yeah.
Hey, we're on the right side of 50.
That's
bud.
right. That's right.
We're fine.
We're on the good side.
So I'm on the wrong side. I'll catch up to you guys. Don't
You
worry.
will. You'll
You're
get
just
there.
on
You'll
a
get there.
different side.
Yeah, that's
Different
right.
side.
Different side.
None of them are wrong. They're just different.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. How about you, Dave? Where do you rank this in the 9 Star Wars films that we watch?
I don't. It
It's so bad it's off the charts. Got it.
It adds nothing to the universe. It does not further any real lore.
It explains how
Any
Sidril gets
story.
off Endor. No.
I don't give a shit. Yeah, sorry, I don't. I mean, I don't even.
We have a
it may
strong female character, Dave.
Yeah. Oh, fine. There's. Okay. Great. I don't care about that as much. I don't care if it's a dude, a girl, a freaking Ewok, an 8-legged alien. I really don't care. It for what it is. It's what it is. You know, it is a 1980s television movie, and 6-year-old me probably would have loved it if I saw it then. Whatever. Great. It's a cross between Star Wars meets Harry Potter meets Lord of the Rings.
Let's not sully Lord of the Rings.
Well,
by
no, there were
putting that in the
this
same
movie.
sentence.
This movie did have orcs in it, though, so we are all for that.
Okay. I'm kind of there with the don't sully because
Yep.
that's a stretch.
Yeah.
But all right.
But you know, for what it was what it was. But I don't even rank it in the Star Wars universe to me at all.
Yeah.
Okay.
Aside from having the same creator, honestly.
Yeah.
Although I didn't share with you guys that I watched it in German, so I think that may have actually increased my enjoyment of it.
Oh, maybe.
On purpose?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah.
I thought, I was like, you know what? I have to watch this. I was like, I bet this old movie
Dave,
probably has been translated. So
Do you know what, Dave? This would have been. Do you know what would make this movie better, Dave? If you had
couple more
watched it,
beers.
if you'd watched it in the original Klingon, come on.
See, now we're crossing streams.
Yeah,
and
but the
that
Klingon,
never works
come
for me.
on. There has to be a Klingon translation of this out there somewhere.
I think I have a new project now.
Let's tap Mark Okeron and get him on that. Come on.
Yeah. God.
He has
he
nothing
will
else to do.
translate the whole script because it should be pretty easy. It'll be easy to do it because he just.
Do you know what? You could probably have ChatGPT take the entire script and translate it to Klingon.
Hold on.
All right. Give
Yeah.
them 1 second. It's going to be done before we're done with the show here.
Yep. I'm gonna ignore me for a while. I'm gonna do it right now.
All right.
And then we all can be the voice actors.
We
for it.
can.
I mean, honestly, I think it would have added another level of quality to it if the Ewoks didn't talk frickin' English.
It's true.
Speak your Ewok, and then let me try to guess what they're saying.
All you wanted
based on the
was, you
responses
just
we got.
wanted the Ewoks to come blazing in with bat laughs. Just be honest.
No, that's the other part. Okay, that's the other part that caught me here too. Well, all of a sudden, these primitives who are throwing rocks and shooting bows now have become more accurate with a firearm than a stormtrooper.
Hold on a second.
They weren't stormtroopers; they were marauders. But I did.
Doesn't
wonder
matter. They're
about-
still shooting better than a stormtrooper.
I have I take offense against primitives. I live in Virginia where there are a lot of indigenous people and they were presumed primitive, but if it wasn't for the Powhatan Indians and what they had for living on the land and only having arrows and stuff, they were able to do it, whereas the civilized people of England all died because they couldn't handle it. So I want to just kind of flag that.
When I speak primitive, they're running around with people who flew there in a fucking spaceship and have laser weapons. Their tech is primitive compared to that.
But they didn't have tech because they were just little they were little creatures.
That's right.
Why am I sideways?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Even better. Oh, I thought you were going
Now you're
upside down. There
There
we
we
go.
go.
That's
There
better.
we go.
Yeah. So here's
Sorry,
my
that's
yeah.
fine.
So here's my thought on ranking this movie, and I am. It's definitely near the bottom, and for me, while I will acknowledge that the first three movies, episode 1, 2, and 3, the script writing is absolutely atrocious. So bad that it's become hilarious. And memeified to death. My son and I went to see Revenge of the Sith in the theaters when it came out again and absolutely loved it. Uh, but I think it was more that for him, this is kind of the Star Wars that really resonated with him growing up, right? The pod racers and everything. But so, but I think I would place it definitely near the bottom. Yeah, it would be probably I dog on the last three movies. They're my least favorite of the nine. But this, if I'm gonna stack this up against them, it makes those look like the best movies of Star Wars ever made. Because I just feel like this doesn't feel like Star Wars. I think that was mentioned earlier on to me because while you do have a ship and you have some blasters around and you have the Ewoks and you have Endor, it doesn't have enough of what makes Star Wars Star Wars. You know, this feels a little bit like Planet of the Apes, maybe. You know, people crash land on the Planet of the Apes, and you have these intelligent creatures that are, whatever. But that's just my thought. That's where I would personally rank it.
That's fair.
How is the translation of it into Klingon?
I'm about to push it through now. I might break Google Gemini. Oh, I have successfully retrieved the script for Ewoks, The Battle for Endor. However, I'm unable to provide a reliable translation of the entire script into Klingon. Because there isn't, my search for Klingon translation tools indicates that automated online translators of Klingon are generally inaccurate and do not account for the complex grammatical structure of the language. This answer is phenomenal.
Yeah, just give us a translation, regardless whether it's accurate or not.
Okay.
See if it gives it to you.
Can you try even though those websites?
Believe it or not, there are positive reviews of this on IMDb.
You know what, Chrissy? I think that you should read us one or two positive reviews.
Yes. Yeah.
A 10 out of 10. Greatest Star Wars movie. I'm going to try to get through this without
They're
laughing.
probably trolling, but go ahead.
This is the greatest Star Wars movie ever made. It is the sequel to Ewoks. The first Ewoks movie is stupid, but that's not the case with Ewoks Battle for Endor. It is Wilford Brimley in his greatest role as Noah. Another great character is the super fast moving animal called Teak. The score is a great composition. Almost nothing goes wrong with this film. It's a pity that it's so hard to find a copy of it. My mom taped it a long time ago when it was on TV. Our copy has a McDonald's commercial with Jason Alexander doing a musical number. Well, that's why it's a 10 out of 10. You have Jason
Yeah, it's not because of the movie.
number and a McDonald's commercial. It's not that bad. Ewok movies are not as bad as people say. Of course, they're not the same quality as Star Wars movies, but they were made for TV and made for small children. Every Star Wars fan should see these movies because it really is a Star Wars spin-off, and it gives a nice view of Endor's moon.
So Gemini said that I understand. Well, I understand your request. I must reiterate that proceeding would be a really bad idea. And I said, could you try though? We're hoping to recreate the movie in Klingon. And so it explains that the grammar and syntax developed.
It really doesn't want to do this.
Like, it's a very rational response. And then it says, this is how you can achieve your goal. Consult with experts. Learn the language. Translate scene by scene.
All right, we aren't going to get it done, but
Gemini is like,
not gonna happen.
no.
that's all right.
I'll have to try Chat GPT later. Maybe it will be more helpful. But like Gemini's like, no, I will not. Although
Gemini is like ChatGPT is like using the Wi-Fi at Starbucks, which you don't know what's going on. Whereas like Gemini is like using the Wi-Fi at your university that has maybe a little Wi-Fi, a little protection.
True.
I think ChatGPT will give you an answer. It'll be more adventurous.
I mean, Gemini, I think, is a little, like its name. It's a little cantankerous sometimes, but I mean,
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that about wraps up our discussion of Ewoks and the battle for Endor. And as you can tell, we have mixed reviews on this movie and its validity in the Star Wars universe. But that's what makes it fun. So, Em, it was fantastic to have you back on the show tonight. What, did you get it?
I got it to work. You have to do it like small chunks at a time.
Did you like the opening scene?
So Sindel, pacha, iwijit dach village rouge, vaso wich dacha opkoche. Oh, so I did learn how to pronounce it so I could sing in it. But this is terrible and awesome at the same time.
There we go. You need to drop that into the chat so we can at least see a portion of it so we can at least see it.
So my trick of watching terrible movies in German is something you should consider, because it was, I would say, probably increased my enjoyment of it exponentially, just because
This is why watching it in Klingon makes sense.
Exactly.
So, all right. Well, let's go ahead and wrap this up. And but Em, again, thanks for joining us, and it's been great to have you back on.
Letting me join.
Yeah. We always
lovely having you.
we always
much.
love having you, and we now know how to get you on. Chrissy, thank you so much for poking the bear. And
I forgot that I shouldn't take a drink while Dave is talking because he will inevitably say something. I had to go to the bathroom and spit out my coffee.
I saw.
It was very nostalgic and it made me incredibly happy. So.
Happy to help.
Yeah. All right, Miles, why don't you go ahead and take us out of the show?
All right. Till next time, good night and good luck.
We'll see ya.
Do your dailies.
Leave your tips on the table.
And go boldly.
I wasn't sure of the order.
That was great.
I was like,
Yeah, that was the order. It was like, what's the order?
I remembered I was third back in the day.
Yeah, you still are. It works.
Okay.
All right.
I'm by country.
Okay. Do you have your Spanish passport as well?
Yeah, I have the EU passport.
Okay, yeah. So my wife, I don't know, maybe you followed this too, but my wife has her Italian
Italy.
passport. Yeah, Italy passport before they shut it down.
Smart.
So, yeah.
She had to go through a lot more. Mine was really simple. I took a test. I had all my documentation from Spain brought here. My uncle brought it. I went to the embassy to take a few tests, and then I went to the consulate to get sworn in as a citizen of Spain.
Oh. Well, there is a way, there used to be a way until they shut it down, that you could have applied here stateside, and we tried that for over a year. And
It's hard.
the difficulty in getting an appointment was the issue. And so
Yeah.
finally said, if we want to do this, let's go over there and live there and do it through residency, which is what she did.
That's perfect. That's amazing. How exciting!
Yeah, so we're excited. So if you ever get to Spain, make sure you look
I
us
do.
up.
I go like every 3 years. I go for a week, and I think this year we're trying to get I'm trying to go for 2.5 weeks to just disconnect for a little while.
That's important.
And then I also need to check on the house I own there, which isn't really a house so much as a barn. It's the barn that my father grew up in. It's the animals were downstairs,
Okay.
and my dad and his family were all upstairs. And it was in the buy that from somebody for about €5,000.
That's awesome.
A good like 15 years ago, and there was a dude squatting in it, but he was making improvements. So I was like, if you just keep improving it, you don't have to pay me any rent. He just sends me pictures every couple of months, like, hey, I just did this. All right, enjoy your free rent.
You know what? As someone who worked with people who were experiencing homelessness, thank you.
Yeah. Well, it's if you think of it, if you're improving it, you're gonna pay that out anyways, right? And have no one there. So
he's like a cousin 4 times removed, so like his family.
Oh, he's.
But also, the fact that he ran electricity into it was amazing, and I was just like, you don't have to do it in secret. You have I had a document. We have an agreement, a legal agreement, that he can keep living there until I decide to move there, and I'll give him 12 months notice.
Oh, good. Yeah, because after all, if you decide to move there, it'll take you about 12 months to get everything like sold, moved, whatever that you want.
I mean, if President Ding Dong decides he can run for a 3rd term, it might be sooner than I planned.
Oh. Yeah.
I really just came on to. I answered the phone to defend my Star Wars honor to the youth of America as I eat my old lady oatmeal for a snack.
Oh, there you go.
I mean,
even M knows, like, of course. I was watching Star Wars before you were an inch in your father's trousers.
I mean, it's probably true.
It's definitely true.
It's probably true. Well, why don't we get started so we can let Em and Chrissy rant here? Miles, are you there just to check in?
I am there. I think my computer is too old, and that's why my webcam's not working.
That's it happens to all of us.
Yeah.
But,
It's
all right.
called old age, bud. That's why you got to get your camera readers.
Yeah.
Over the 50s.
Well, I'm going to be 55 tomorrow, so.
Well, happy birthday.
Are we singing? No, we're not.
We're gonna sing.
No, we're not singing.
Dave's gonna lead us in Klingon.
And play really badly.
Yeah, Dave's gonna lead us in Klingon. We're gonna sing happy birthday.
Yeah.
No, I mean, Miles, I know 50. What'd you say, 55?
Yeah.
So Miles,
55. It has been a
Yes,
long road from there to here, hasn't it, Miles?
It sure has, but Dave,
We're not singing that song.
Yeah.
Miles, for your birthday, I bought myself a Lego set.
Woohoo!
Oh, awesome.
Your birthday, I got myself a present. That's great.
I think that's perfect.
Em, have you watched or watching For All Mankind?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
That's fantastic.
I'm in season 4 of that show right now. I'm loving that show.
There were a couple of the actresses at the Smithsonian at the Air and Space Museum for some little meet and greet thing, and because I'm a member of the Smithsonian, where like since I was a kid, I have a card. You donate to the museum, and you get to go to a couple events. So I've been to something like a year ago that was specifically about spacecraft and what they're doing, what they're putting in the new parts of the Air and Space Museum in DC, and they're renovating. And there were a couple of the actresses from the show, and I said, my friend introduced me, and I said, I'm just gonna stand in the corner because I'm gonna make a complete moron of myself. And they're like, oh no, we're real. So we all nerded out about this, and it wasn't until I was back in the Uber that I realized I didn't even take a single picture. We just had fun.
Yeah, you have the memory.
I do. For now, because I'm an old lady from when Star Wars was on the screen. The little one, where
All right.
shot first.
That's right. All right.
I did make some show notes.
All right. I will check them out after.
So I learned that if I want female company, I just need to like poke M and
Just poke the bear.
You need to insult me, that's all.
okay. I'm like, I'm a little bit on. I shouldn't insult her.
Let me get my girdle on, because it's time to bring it.
She's got with her cane to like, so now see here.
Get off my porch, you stinking.
You're recording all of this.
I am absolutely recording it. I learned way long ago that the best stuff happens before the show. But
Holy crap, Epstein! You better get the bleep button out.
there's no bleep button. Not after Chrissy's.
Chrissy ruined that.
Oh,
Yeah.
You melted the bleep button.
Yeah, that's family friendly has been out the week.
They didn't tell me when I joined it was supposed to keep it family friendly. I mean,
All
I
this
work
pent up
with-
aggression from counseling.
You know, I have to keep the filter on literally all day long, and so I get here and just let it all out.
girl. You say what you fucking want.
Exactly.